You're watching WRKM Channel 22, number one in the region. The following WRKM broadcast is for mature audiences only. Apparently, like the new Barney movie will be for mature audiences only. Apparently, like Scott Baio leaving California, that's for real mature people only. It's the weekend. It's been a week. I haven't seen ya. I missed ya. Let's be together in the darkness. Let's have the talks we can't have when the sun is up. Good evening. I don't know if you want to say this will end in darkness. What is happening? We're back. Supreme Court still sucks. Haven't changed my mind off that. Though, I'll say there were quite a few comments about our views on affirmative action last week. Our views on student loan debt. And I'm sure you'll have views about this episode. I already view this as our best episode. Is that putting the expectation too high? Or not high enough? I'm sure I will disappoint you on that. But I will not be the only one disappointing you, I promise you. There are other people who are out there to disappoint you. And they're getting movies made about them. Oppenheimer definitely disappointed us with his creation of the nuclear bomb. Some would say, Ralph, Japan was wildin'. They were, in fact, what we call wildin'. But has anyone ever thought maybe two big boom booms were not a good idea? Look what we did to them. Have you seen anime? Hentai? They're not even banging each other anymore. But we did get good video games out of it. Blessings and curses. What was it that Meek Mill's called it? Dreams and nightmares? That's why you have a young producer. Because that's how I know things. It's dreams and nightmares all around. Is that the name of this week's episode? Maybe. I don't know. If we could fit in some Meek Mill's music, that'd be dope. But copyright laws do rule the land. And you have to be careful with them. Sometimes guys like the Fresh and Fit boys will come at you for saying some things about them and, ooh, copyright, you're slandering me. But it's not true. It's not slander to say they're pieces of shit. And we didn't have to use their content to do so. But I'm sure they have let down their parents the same way Oppenheimer let down America. And the same way apparently people feel about Barney. We all know Barbie's coming out, and I'm excited about it. You're excited about it, right, Bobby? He's excited, mainly for Margot Robbie. I know what you're up to. He saw Babylon and liked it. I haven't seen Babylon yet, but I will be watching Babylon. And if it's not good, there'll be a long conversation after I watch Babylon. But Barbie is coming out. Margot Robbie, fantastic actress. Maybe not the most bankable actress, according to the Revolution, who produces this show. He has many views. Bobby does not like that view. He has many views about the lack of box office Margot Robbie brings in. But it's not the box office I'm worried about. You know what I mean? It's how many of the guys are going to go see it. Because guys, we go to see the movies. Ladies, I don't know. I haven't looked at the demographics yet. They certainly saw Lady Ghostbusters, and that was a mistake. That movie's terrible. But Barbie has now opened up a whole line of Mattel movies. They've got a grim and gritty Hot Wheels movie coming out. What's so grim and gritty about Hot Wheels? I don't know. Lena Dunham, that functional mental deficient, is doing Polly Pocket. I didn't know there was a story to Polly Pocket. I knew there was a story to Mighty Max. See, that was that burp I was telling you about earlier that I was waiting to come up before the show. Said it would come out while I was recording. It always comes out when I'm recording. It's the air. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. We could get a doctor on here to talk about burping one day because there's so many burps happen on here. But Mighty Max had a story, and it was the same thing as Polly Pocket. It was a small little thing. Like, it would be like a skull or a monster's head, and you would open it up, and it would have like a whole adventure. And the little comic book would come with it telling you what the adventure was, and you would live through the adventure with Mighty Max. And he had a lore. He had a red baseball cap that had an M on it. And apparently it's Egyptian. And it gave him Egyptian powers. I didn't know Egyptians were rocking fitteds back then. You learn something new from Mighty Max every time. Does Polly Pocket have a mythology that deep? I think not. What's the mythology of Polly Pocket? She likes going shopping? She likes hanging out with the girlies? That's not a mythology. That's a hangout, which I'm all for. But what's that movie going to be about? Who knows? Maybe it'll go meta the way Barbie's going meta. The way everyone kind of wants to go meta now. It's what they're doing with Barney. Here we go. Back in 2019, Mattel and production company Valparaiso Productions, I'm getting better at pronouncing words I don't understand, announced the development of a live-action Barney and Friends movie with the main character being Barney, starring our boy from Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya. Interesting casting. Don't know if he'll be in the suit. Barney was a ubiquitous figure in many of our childhoods. Then he disappeared into the shadows. He left misunderstood. Kaluuya said in a press release at the time, "We're excited to explore a compelling modern-day hero to see if this message of I love you, you love me can stand the test of time." In a new interview with The New Yorker, Kevin McKeon, a Mattel executive who works in tandem with former Miramax Robbie Brenner, shed light on the Barney film, which McKeon says will be an adult-focused movie on the former kid-loving dinosaur. Kid-loving dinosaur sounds like a pedophile dinosaur. So maybe they could have chosen better wording for that. We're leaning into millennial angst of the property rather than a fine-tuning this for the kids. It's really a play for adults. Not that it's R-rated, but it'll focus on the trials and tribulations of being a 30-something growing up with Barney. Just the level of disenchantment with this generation. So instead of doing something for the kids, which would be fun, make them laugh, have a few jokes for the adults, we're going to make Barney really boring and sad. They used to say the boomers were a selfish generation, but I would say the millennials are a very self-absorbed generation. Must we make Barney meta? See, to me, when you have meta narratives, it tells me you couldn't create anything new. So you went with the easiest route. Be meta. It's very easy to be meta. We're meta in our everyday lives. We're meta in how we reference pop culture into our real lives. That remember when Donald Trump was president and everyone thought they were the resistance from Star Wars? That we were fighting the great big empire? Remember that? That turned out not to be entirely true because there were no Death Stars. Donald Trump did not once build a Death Star. That point for him. Did Joe Biden build a Death Star? No, he didn't either. But he was kind of Obi-Wan, but did he die and then mysteriously disappear? He did not. So everyone ended up a little disappointed at the end of it. Maybe he's saving that for the second term. Maybe he, wins and at inauguration he just dies and disappears. Cloak just his suit just drops, and it's like, no! Then we're stuck with President Kamala Harris. But you can't always get what you want. And that's something I feel like millennials struggle with. This idea of disenchantment has always been funny to me. It's not that I don't think my generation had it hard. 9/11 was a thing. The recession was a thing. There are still race issues in the country. That's still a thing. LGBTQ people plus are still a thing. Having issues still. So clearly, people are still having issues. Like, issues went away. But it's almost like, when do you get over it? Like, we've had a reckoning with our parents. We've had a reckoning with our society. Now we're having a reckoning with Barney? Can the idea of you love me, I love you stand the test of time? Of course it has. People are still falling in love every day. People are still doing things for the people they love every day. It's survived. On a societal level, hate to break it to you, it was never that. I don't know what society these people are grasping for. It never existed. Even during the 60s, during the quote unquote fucking free love movement, not everybody loved everybody. Can you possibly love everyone? I think not. The other day, I was on a train, mind my own business, had my cell phone, listening to some cool philosophy podcast, and a hobo man, African-American man with a textbook and dreads, sat across from me next to an Asian lady who was just on her phone as well. And he got highly upset that we were on our phones. He signaled to me to speak to me. I took my headphones off. And he said, "What did you do before you had your cell phone?" And I was like, "I read books on the train. Now I can read books on my phone. Or listen to books on my phone." That don't sound like somebody who read books before. I'm like, what does that even mean? I did read books. I have a list of them I could point out if you want. But he was so upset about the phone. He was just like, "No, I can't possibly believe you read book." Even though he had a textbook in his hand. Which, if he really wanted to reach me, he should have opened that book. Share a chapter with me. Read to me, if you will. Show me what I'm missing out on. I, of course, ignored him with my headphones on, and I got him a little upset. He said, "Well, I hope you die." F word. Faggot. And I thought that was a little much. Because one, he assumed my gender. So he wasn't being very progressive, was he? And two, had he opened that textbook, he would know, assuming genders is wrong. He should have asked me how I identified first and insulted me correctly. So I was misgendered. And I would like some level of recourse to be done for that. That's a level of disappointment in the I love you, you love me philosophy, but I'm not going to go blame Barney for that. Maybe he didn't watch Barney the way I watched Barney. Maybe Barney was just like, "Hey, if you can, love someone else. I can't love a guy who misgenders me and calls me the F slur. That's just mean. But I'm supposed to love him now because Barney told me to? If you're going to come after Barney for disappointing you, why not Sesame Street? Sesame Street looked nothing like my block, but I wasn't upset by it. I wasn't mad at Big Bird for not looking like the guy who actually owns my grocery store. I wasn't mad at Oscar the Grouch for looking like the actual hobos on my block or crackheads. I just went, oh, well, this is the way to make everyone feel that they're part of the neighborhood. But was Oscar the Grouch part of the neighborhood? Did any of them ever come together and pour resources into him to make him better? Has Sesame Street confronted gentrification yet? Was Sesame Street already gentrified? These are the questions that I could ask as a disenchanted millennial, but I don't, because they were kids' shows. They weren't for me. They're not for me anymore. Why would I make a Barney movie for my generation? Are we going to go after Yu-Gi-Oh next? None of those monsters actually came to life when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering? Half of those things aren't even real, but there's no real magic, but you still play Magic the Gathering. Ash Ketchum got to go on a great journey at 10 years old. He had to go catch Pokemon. Am I mad at my mom for not letting me wander the streets picking up weird animals? No, because some things just aren't real. Some things are fictional characters, fictional universes. Barney was telling you a wish, how he'd like you to live. But the disenchantment of being in your mid-30s, finding out things don't go the way you wanted them to, is get over it. Maybe I was around too many Gen Xers growing up, because they would tell me straight up, this is not going to end the way you think. This is going to get shitty real quickly. And they weren't wrong. It did get shitty. You mean it? When I was, 2000? I don't remember how old I was in the year 2000. I was probably 12 maybe. Could be wrong. I'm not a mathematician. But I remember when George Bush became president and the Supreme Court decided that guy's president. You know what I said? This is bullshit. I got over it. Elian Gonzalez. That was some bullshit. I got over it. Bill Clinton got his dick sucked in the White House. I got over it. The war in Iraq. I got over it. The recession. I had to get over it because there's no getting back the money you lose. It's just gone. And you can cry about it or start selling these rocks. And that's what you have to do sometimes. I think in a lot of ways, my generation is disenchanted because they always thought, hey, someone was in control of this chaos. Someone or the buck had to stop somewhere, but it didn't. Now, did it? All these things I mentioned happened to my generation. And now once they go, maybe someone's not in control of this. So I should start doing my own thing so I can be in control of my life. They will reckon with everyone else, their parents, the institutions, Barney, but they won't reckon with themselves. I think this generation being the most mentally quote unquote fit generation, or the one at least investigating their mental health in a meaningful manner, might have been a bad thing. Because you can be too self-aware. You can be too smart to where you go all around to being dumb. I do it every week on this show. But I do think that we've just gotten to a place where we're learning things about our mental health. We're learning about the trauma we experienced. And now we want everything to reckon with what we now realized. Instead of realizing growth is a personal journey. It's not Barney's fault. This is my Good Will Hunting moment, like where I find Barney and go, Barney, it's not your fault. Barney, it's not your fault. And he cries. He's a big purple dinosaur. I just want everyone to love each other. I'm like, I know. But have you seen these fucking people? Like them? The losers. I think millennials just feel like the mythologies never held up. And the thing is, mythologies are just mythologies. They're just stories. They're just ideas that you can use in your everyday life. They weren't meant to last. You have to make them last. And the idea that a Barney movie is not going to be for children, which is unfair to the children who love Barney now, who fucking dig Barney now. So the same way we always felt that boomers were super selfish with resources, we're now going to take Barney from them and make it about us because we're disenchanted. Which is kind of a real boomer logic, because boomers always make it about themselves. Boomers think they've achieved just about anything. They're both the world's greatest heroes and also the world's greatest victims. It's kind of amazing. Where we just go, we're the world's greatest victims, but goddamn, we're so smart. We're so smart and we're so meta. Meta is creative laziness. If you must take something fictional and bring it into the real world, What you've said now is, I couldn't make this work in the world that exists. It was easier to do this. It's kind of why the Star Wars trilogy, the new one, doesn't work. Star Wars was never meant to be about Star Wars. But they turned a trilogy into being Star Wars about Star Wars, which then became about being about George Lucas, who they swore they wanted to get away from. How'd that work out? Didn't work out very well. The brand's kind of hurt. When new Star Wars stuff releases, there's no real hype for it anymore. It comes and it goes because people kind of reckoned with it already. Okay. Luke Skywalker let me down in some way. He became just like every old white dude. He wasn't special. So the guy who taught me all these meaningful lessons is no longer meaningful to me. We've deconstructed him. He's just like everyone else. He can go. So now Barney is going to go the same route. Like the church, like your government, like the economy, it's Barney's turn. Barney's turn to get crucified and get put on the stand. They might as well turn the entire Barney movie into a congressional hearing. Barney, when you were telling people, I love you, you love me, and we can be a happy family, did you mean that for everyone? Like all races of people? In all genders? Or were you just talking about other purple dinosaurs? Put him on a trial. Have him answer those questions. Apparently it's his fault. Barney ruined everything. Thanks, Barney. Wasn't anything else. And it's kind of beautiful in that way. Maybe this kind of has made me who I am. But having watched all those historical moments and realizing, maybe the adults don't know anything either, was actually releasing and freeing for me, to where I don't blame Barney, or I don't blame the boomers really, or I don't blame Gen X either. I just blame people. Life sucks and then you die. Or, how about this? Life's what you make it, and then you die. Life can be dope if you want it to be. What's your level of success? How do you deem success? What makes you happy? Is being a good father making you happy? Being a good husband making you happy? Then you're a happy person. You're successful. Did you think you were going to have the four-car garage, 2.5 children, a dog named Pogo, the snow bunny named Becky? Some of us have dreams of snow bunnies, not me. I got my honky, and I am all right. I'm only going to have one kid, I think. That's the goal. One done. If I can get 2 for 1 on twins, I'm into it. But I also realize, hey, I might not own a house in my lifetime. Unfortunate. We should do things to change that. But there is no disenchantment. It's just acceptance. Once you free yourself of expectations, you can accept just about anything. Or you can live in just about anything. You're only limited by your own desires. But of course, our desire is to whine, complain, and take Barney away from the children because it has to be about us. Because we yet again need another piece about being mid-30s and not getting what we want. It kind of gets depressing. It kind of just creates that doom cycle. Oh, it's never going to get any better. And oh my God, the boomers ruined everything. And then the Gen Xers didn't really... It's like, get over it. You could be in a country fighting for blood diamonds. And for those people who are fighting for blood diamonds, good luck. Because it's fucking hell out there. That's who I'm thinking about. But must we take... it's funny because Zack Snyder gets a lot of shit for making things dark and gritty. He made Superman too dark, which I thought he just made Superman realistic. That was a dark and gritty take I didn't mind. Because to me, I don't even think it was dark and gritty, to be fair. I think if you looked at Man of Steel as dark and gritty, I don't think you really watched the movie. Man of Steel was really about a dude who was born into a weird place, had some powers, could potentially be a Christ-like figure or hunted down. And his parents just treated him like it was, hey, we don't think the normal human being is going to understand this. But everyone likes to think we live in a Marvel universe where those burps keep coming. Everyone thinks they live in a Marvel universe where we would embrace these people automatically. That we would see the Avengers fighting aliens in New York and our only focus is, when's the merch dropping? But no one thinks about what it would actually be like, which to me was the Zack Snyder universe. Holy shit, our world is different. This dude lives among us. And if these two godlike figures fought, it would tear down a city. Now some would say, oh, well, who wants to see that reality? It doesn't seem the other one. Why not go the other way? But I would argue that Zack actually treated Superman with some fucking love. Because he actually breaks down like, yo, like this is what this guy goes through. He goes around the world looking for his place, trying to help where he can, but knowing that if he reveals himself, it might be a problem. How do you have the power of the world in your hand, but you can't do anything about it? That you might as well reckon with Superman besides Barney. Barney couldn't save the world. Then again, Barney had no General Zod to bring it out of him. Did Barney have superpowers? He did. He was able to transport people like Doctor Strange. Maybe he should have transported all of us to a better world. How about that, Barney? See, now they're starting to get me now. Now I feel disenchanted by Barney. But to me, Zack Snyder just treated it like it was, hey, people are very complex beings, and living amongst them with this level of power is very complex. You can only do what you can and hope for the best. Hope they see the best in you. Hope they take away the good ideas and not all the negatives. That's kind of how parenting works. That's kind of how this all works. You take the good ideas, you leave the bad ones. Trauma sucks. Hey, king trauma right here, baby. Fucking love my trauma. I bathe in it. I eat it. It's like a steak. Medium rare, of course. I learned that recently. Gotta have steak medium rare. And I have been for the last 2 years. And I feel more of an aristocrat for it. But at the end of the day, you know, you take the good with the bad. And I feel like these dark and gritty reboots, these meta ideas about franchises, or just all these, we're looking for someone to blame. You know, we figured out, you know, actually, pause. Someone said that we shouldn't teach children about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy, because you start them off in a world with lies that eventually they find out about, and it changes their perception of their childhood a little bit. Like, oh, that wasn't Santa. There was no magic. It was my parents busting their ass to give me joy, to give me something that felt otherworldly. And the thing is, we all live in a lie. Our government, kind of a lie. It's a fairy tale. The founding fathers were these great guys who conveniently learned from the Enlightenment but forgot the parts about slavery, and then started a country that said all men are created equal, but forgot about slavery. And they fought the British, and we won independence, and everything was great ever since then. That's how some conservatives would look at it. Then you bring up the Civil War, they go, well, that was just the South. To be fair, some Northerners didn't give a fuck about slaves either. They just lived in the North and were like, we washed our hands of it. We had a Civil War. And then after the Civil War, what do we do? Reconstruction. Jim Crow. We repeated the same mistake twice. We signed a document that said all men are created equal. We put an asterisk, black people. And then we fought a civil war to free black people and then put an asterisk, Jim Crow. And we just repeated the same mistake. Civil rights. We tried to fix that mistake. But one thing no one ever really thinks about is you can make something a law, but personal beliefs still personal beliefs. People have private beliefs all the time. Hillary Clinton would tell her corporate people, have a private persona and a public persona, because that's the truth. People do have a private persona. They can be front facing going, I like everyone. Everyone's cool. Everyone's dope. But inside they're like, these fucking spics. You know what I mean? I can say spics because I'm Puerto Rican. But that's just how it is. So everyone thought once you passed civil rights, everything was just going to be fine. Everything was going to be fine and dandy. No one's going to practice racism anymore. And it's why now I kind of laugh when people talk about the race issue now, going, aren't we tired of it? It's like, why isn't there no racists? Why are there still some people who are racist? You know? And that's just kind of what it is. Not all fairy tales end the way you think. Some fairy tales only work if you work it. Could America be a place where all men are created equal? Sure. 100% someday. That day ain't today. Could be, though. Could be. Barney, I love you, you love me. Is that today? Maybe not. But it could be if you work it. And how about we just let the kids have that? Let the kids have the myth. How about you make a movie about them? What they need to know to enter society. We're at our mid-30s now. There's nothing more you can do for us. Making Barney geared towards us is sad. It's depressing. It's kind of like that older dude. I used to go to a lot of college parties. And there would be a guy who graduated like 4 years before, still hanging out at the college party. And you're like, dude, what happened? What happened to you, dude? Like, you're still hanging out here? Yeah, man, like college, man. It was the best it was ever going to get, man. It's like, that's depressing. If you're still going to your old high school, hanging out, and you're like, what? Sophomore, junior in college? What are you doing? That time came and gone. You're still holding on to those beefs? Move on, kid. Doesn't get any better. You have new beefs. Workplace beefs, college beefs, family beefs. There's more beefs to move on to. You don't want to keep going back to your starter kit of beefs. You have to evolve. No one ever goes back to their first feud in pro wrestling. You always keep going up the card. Well, you want to be a curtain jerker the rest of your life? People who understand that just got a life lesson. The rest of you, I can't help you. But it's what it is. If I focus on Barney letting me down, what will I do? Nothing. Just probably cry in a corner. Because that purple dinosaur fucking let me down. But so has America. So has family members. So have just about fucking everything. Disenchantment? Fuck off. It's called life. It's called life. Talk to your therapist about it. I should talk to my therapist about it. I don't have one, but I'm going to get one now. And this is going to be the first conversation we have. Barney let me down. You know what she's going to do? Are you fucking... I promise I wouldn't say that word anymore. What, are you fucking dumb? Like, you know, just... I'm going to say the R word, but I had to stop myself because I love that word a lot. But what, are you dumb? Still crying about Barney? What are you, 30-something years old? People are always crying about things they think they lost. It's weird. Even like Scott Baio, decent actor. He was Chachi back in the 60s and 70s. Scott Baio, who, to be fair, we only brought back into the public realm due to the celebrity era. And we ironically made him a legend because we kind of felt bad for him. He was an actor that fell on his ass and we needed a celebrity to laugh at. So we brought back Scott Baio and he was looking for love. And there were a lot of seasons of that show where he was looking for love. It kind of made you question were any of these relationships real. But Scott Baio had to pay the bills. Scott Baio would show up in movies like, oh, it's Scott Baio. Get it? Because he's such a fucking failed actor. We made him a legend ironically. We made him matter ironically. Now, Scott Baio is leaving California. Why? Because the homeless people are just ruining California, apparently. This is not my country. This is not my California. What California were you fucking talking about, Scott? Was it the thing you worked yourself into a shoot on? That it was all clean paved ways when you have money? That You were in nice neighborhoods because you had cash, buddy. Had you left Beverly Hills, you would have noticed shit's kind of fucked up. Skid Row didn't just magically show up. Skid Row was always there. Compton was always there. Now, would some say the homeless population's gotten bigger? Of course. No one's arguing that. All major cities are going through it. Just had a pandemic. Just had, what's or an impending economic collapse. What do you think is going to happen, buddy? If Scott Baio was really bought into the myth of what California used to be, he'd stick around and try to fight for it. Because it's not about what it did for you. It's about what it does for everyone else. You're supposed to be inspired by what you take in or what your happiness is, or, in a sense, like city pride, state pride. That should want you to be better or to help a state be better. He's got access to some funds, unless he spent them all, which in Scott Baio's case, I would not be surprised. Lots of actors from his time didn't know how to spend money correctly. It happens to everybody. Ron Howard was the only one to really make it out. Fonzie made it out. He actually decided to be a good actor. And that's the key. You have to make a choice when you're in those old school sitcoms. You can either be a shitty actor forever, or you can try to become a good one and have a long career. And he did. Fonzie was always cool. So I feel like it's a little unfair. Chachi was never cool. Imagine Scott Baio sees this and he's like, Jesus, why is this guy fucking up my entire career like this? Well, shouldn't have been talking shit, bruh. It's not even my state. How am I defending California as a New Yorker? That's a fucking heresy there. But everyone believes their era or their time period was the best. And everything's going to shit now. There's not one generation I meet that doesn't think everything's going to shit. Gen Z, I get a mixed reaction on. Half of them think it's going to shit. Half of them are kind of optimistic. I like that. There's a balance. But everyone else is all doom and glooms. Which I would say, start doing drugs. Everything's great when you're on drugs. And I'm not even talking about just regular like coke, heroin, weed. Start doing prescription drugs. Get some Zoloft in the system. Pump a Lexapro, bro. Get a Xanny if you can. Get some lean. Let's bring lean back. Lean was fun for a while. Killed a few rappers. That's not a positive, but they probably felt really positive about their life at the moment of their death. They probably didn't even feel it. How about we go to that? Let's start numbing things. Or let's get Scott Baio a job. How about that? There's an account called What is New York? And the job listing was for talent gigs. And it said, be a character at my wedding. We are looking for someone to attend our wedding in character. We will invent a backstory and name for you. You will get dinner and be an invitee. You will tell folks that you are a friend, not a hired performer. You have to stay in character all night. We haven't decided on the character. Perhaps you will wear pig prosthetics and pretend that you're just really into that. Or maybe you're a bad ventriloquist. Or a hobbyist Frank Sinatra impersonator. These are just examples. Someone with a background in improv might be good at this. We prefer that you be over the age of 40. It is important to keep it PG and don't harass our guests. The wedding will be in autumn 2024 in Fairfield County, Connecticut. We will discuss pay. I'm posting at NYC so more people can see the post. The wedding location isn't far. Note, we are looking for someone who enjoys being very weird, borderline creepy. This character is going to be a total freak while remaining PG. Perfect for Scott Baio. He's borderline creepy now. He was borderline creepy on that dating show. That's a role for him. I thought about taking up this part. I thought about reaching out to these people and seeing what character I could play for them, but I would want to have my own character, to be fair. I would like to be an Alex Jones type, where I go to table and go, they're making the frogs gay. Have people deal with that. Like, who's this? He just came up to our table and said they're making the frogs gay. What the hell's that about? Or I go in and going, the CIA overthrew Guatemala. So we should be careful about where we eat this fruit. They might have left poison in there for us. Just saying. And then walk away. Just start mentioning things on the random. See how people deal with that. Hey, do you know the government's run by lizard people? Just want you to know that. And that priest we had seen a little reptilian, didn't he? Weird. And he just walk away. Just dropping these gems on people throughout the wedding. I'd be a hit at this wedding. Because everyone would go, holy shit. I didn't know they knew a guy like that. I'd have information. I'd have everyone talking about flat earth by the end of the night. Have you ever looked at a zoomed out picture of the earth? Why it look flat? Why it look flat on the land, bro? I don't see no curve. It look flat to me. You ever been on top of the Empire State Building? Why it look flat? Why isn't it curved? Stay woke. Stay woke. I can do that. I kind of want it to happen at my wedding. I want to have a table of my most conspiratorial friends and have them right there. So at any time where the wedding gets a little boring, I can cut to that table. What are you guys talking about? We're talking about Epstein's Island, bro. Oh, let's go, I'm in. We're talking about chemtrails, bro. Oh, I have to go say hi to my in-laws, but I want to stay here because this is where the chemtrail conversation's happening. Every wedding should have one guy like that. A truth seeker. The institution of marriage was only invented so two incomes can become one for bigger tax deductions. Whoa. Word? Yeah. And the diamond ring was invented by the diamond industry to move diamonds, bruh? It wasn't even really a thing back in the day? Whoa. Be deep, son. That's the kind of wedding guest I want to have. People who are constantly looking at my wedding like a psyop. Ralph and that girl don't even know each other, bruh. They're two government hired actors. I've known Ralph for a long time, but he's definitely a hired actor. That guy's got a podcast, and he's talking about Bohemian Grove and hasn't been shot. Psyop, bro. This one in darkness thing, psyop. Those are the people I want at my wedding. I hope someone does it. I hope my friends and family are listening. I want someone to get up in the middle of my wedding. When someone goes, does anyone object to this marriage? I do. This is a goddamn government psyop. That man is an agent for the federal government, and he's checking on all of our taxes. And I'm like, fuck. And I would react like, oh, you got me. And I would eat a poison pill and fake die at the altar. I know his real name. His real name is Steve Blunt. And he's been in 5 major combat zones. I'm like, No evidence, of course. I don't want him to have any shred of evidence. It's just all accusations. And the only evidence is that I have to take a fake poison pill and kill myself. It could make things interesting. I always wanted something like that for my funeral. I always said, when I pass away, hopefully in my 80s, most likely in my 60s, I always wanted them to hire the most random actor. Let's say Kendall Roy from Succession, right? He comes to my wedding and he's broken up because of my funeral, he's broken up about it. I want him to cry like we fucking knew each other. And everyone's like, hold on. Is that Kendall from Succession? Holy shit, did Ralph know Kendall from Succession? I think, yeah, he seems to. He's really crying. Man. You don't think he's going to give a speech, do you? I don't know. And I want him to. And I want him to give the speech he gave his dad in that show. You know, they would say Ralph was a trailblazer and could not be controlled and would just say random things on the microphone, whether they were right or wrong. And God damn it, I hope I have some of that in me. And he just walks out. Doesn't even stay for the rest of the funeral, just leaves. Everyone's talking. Like, one, that was Kendall Roy. Two, did he just rip off Succession at Ralph's funeral? That's weird. I feel like it would break up the sadness. You know, people like, they couldn't really like, they could mourn me, but they're like, yeah, it was a beautiful funeral. You know, it was really sad, but Jeremy Strong showed up and just made everything fucking weird. Like, he just showed up and just started quoting Succession the entire time. You know? He rapped the Beastie Boys while up there. R to the Ralphie, he be the homie and he ain't playing. If you don't watch Succession, you don't understand anything that's happening right now. But you should watch Succession. It's a fantastic show. It's over now. You can catch up to it. But that's what I want. I want wild figures to be at my wedding and funeral. My kid's first birthday. Maybe I hire an actor for that. You know? Maybe like a cult leader, you know, change it up. Maybe like do a whole gimmick where I've just joined a cult, but no one really knows until my kid's first birthday. And this one guy's just hanging out, you know, he's got like a bunch of chains and bracelets. Oh, what do? I run a group called The Family, and I'm happy to say Ralph and Tina are part of my family. And now, so is their child. Oh! Well, what's the group about? Well, we meet up on Sundays, and we put on costumes inspired by animals. I usually wear a turtle costume. Ralph and his wife have become the sparrows. They have little feathers on their arms and they flap around. And we worship the animal god, Zimu. And we just, you know, bond together. Some would say we share our lovers with one another. We do cut ourselves so that all of our blood could be in a chalice. And we drink from it. So we would all share each other's blood and become family. It's actually a really beautiful experience. And I'm just so happy that Ralph and his wife and now his child are part of my family. And he just has a dead pit, like it's normal. People at the table are like, holy shit. And all day, everyone's like, dude, I gotta talk to you about this fucking guy at the table. I'm like, oh yeah. That dude's cool, man. Like he's been really helping me, you know, through like some of my stuff. You know, he's been really like an influence on me, giving me good advice and, you know, just help me find the best me I could possibly be. And they're like, yeah, that's great. But like, are you wearing sparrow costumes on Sunday? And are you like cutting yourself to pull blood in the chalice and drink from it? Did he tell you about that? Oh, man. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun when you think about it. It's actually pretty cool. I'm part of something now, you know, I feel like I'm part of something and my life's going places and, you know, it's definitely, you know, not an expensive hobby. You know, I have given him 10% of my earnings every check, but for what he gives me back, it's just the right thing to do for me and my family. And now for my child, who will be raised by his family. I got her costume recently. She's going to be a cat. And she's going to walk around the performance. She's going to crawl around. She crawls. She's a baby. 1-year-old birthday. But she's going to be a little cat crawling around. You know? Can't wait. And it's really exciting. And just people look at me like, what the fuck happened to Ralph? It's in a fucking cult, man. And the entire time, no one wants to offend me. Because they're like, what's... Clearly, Ralph must know what he's doing, you know, and it's his kid's birthday. We can't just fucking yell at him now. And I don't correct them on any of this for like years. It's the one time they ever hear about this cult I'm part of. It's the one time they're ever confronted with it. It becomes part of my gimmick, my mythology. Oh man, like Ralph's cool, man. Like Ralph's a good friend, but did you hear about the cult he's in? I thought he was a smart guy. Fuck, man. How do you get caught up in a cult? And, I just act very normal about everything. Long-running gimmicks. That's what you need in life to make life worth living. It keeps you entertained. And then when someone finally confronts me about it, I'm like, well, what about the cults you're in? Huh? The Democratic Party? The Republican Party? What are you, a libertarian? Huh? What company do you work for? You work for Google, bruh? Well, that's cool. What's the Google stance? Do no evil? But they're doing evil, ain't they, huh? Yeah. You're part of a cult, bruh. All of you are part of a cult. And I start shooting at people. You're a Catholic. You're a Jewish. You're a Muslim. Those are fucking cults. All right? They'll get mad at me because I go on Sundays and just like a sparrow flapping around having fun at my church while you guys have boring times at church. I have fun. There's a blood chalice at my church. And I get to be a sparrow and flap my wings and be free. And then sometimes I bang another man's wife. This is really connecting to last week's episode, but I do. That's part of the cult. Don't get mad that I have a more fun life than you do. I'm living my truth, my dream. I am not disenchanted because I am not waiting for Barney to save me. This weird guy who makes me just like a sparrow is going to save me. Then by this time, everyone's kind of horrified. And I go, okay, I'm sorry. I've been fucking with you guys for like the last 10 years. I'm not part of a cult. It's a long-term rib. My wife knows about it. She kind of gets annoyed that I keep doing it because she's like, people are starting to think things. And I'm like, I want them to. It makes life interesting. The problem is I don't know how deep I would go through it because I would have to tell someone. I think John would have to know. He'd have to know. I'd have to tell my brother, like, this is what I'm working on right now. And I need you to be committed to it. And let me tell you, when he's committed to a grift, he can stone face it up. He can work a gimmick. He's working a gimmick right now. Some of you don't even know about it, bro. The Bushwick Nightmare, bro. One day you'll all put the pieces together. Right now he's just doing the work. But that's what it is, man. We're all looking for something. We're all looking to make sense of how we live life. So we fall into weird, beliefs. We fall into weird gimmicks to entertain our time. All of this really is what you want to make it. Do you want to make it a dream? Or do you want to make it a nightmare? Brought it all back to the Meek Mills. God damn, I'm getting good at this shit. Woo. I can't play Meek Mill, so I'm just thinking about it. My favorite Meek Mills is the intro to Championships. Damn, he kills fucking. I can feel it in the air tonight. But why be disenchanted? Make your new dreams. Make them realistically with what you can obtain. Don't blame Barney. Don't blame your parents. Don't blame the boomers. Don't blame Gen X. Just move on. Disappointment's normal. Move on. We all have it. We all have it. If they ruin this Barney movie, I'm gonna be really upset. Because Barney still means something to me, goddammit. A smartwatch letting me know that my new Thread account is getting a lot of followers. If you haven't heard about Thread, it's the new Twitter alternative from Instagram. Or Meta, oddly enough, from Mark Zuckerberg. And the truth is, with the war between Twitter and Threads, it's just the latest in an ongoing battle between two tech giants having a war over owning our data. And I am proud to be part of it. Whether it's a cage match between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon, whether it's these two battles or these two apps doing battle, I'm happy to be here because I would like to pick my overlord. Because that, I don't have to think anymore if they own my data. We all want someone to be in charge to control the chaos. Let's pick one. Zuckerberg or Elon. I think there's benefits to both. Zuckerberg has a cool biographical movie called The Social Network. What does Elon have? Smart cars that can also be hacked and potentially kill you. Mark might have ruined elections for the rest of our lives. Elon has rockets trying to get us off the planet. You gotta pick and choose who your overlord is. And I'm happy that these two are fighting, not just for my data, but for all of our data. We are all the pretty girl at the ball between these two. And god damn it, feels nice. Feels nice to be pretty. Then again, maybe they're in control of the dreams and nightmares. I don't know. Or then again, maybe we all know how this one is going to end.